And there it goes. All right, we're in. Hello,
Okay.
everyone. My name is Bassam Habal, and I'm here. They also call me Mighty Slim, and can't figure out why that is. And I'm here talking with a legendary drummer. That's right. I'm calling you a legend, Mr. Richard Bailey. How you doing, Richard?
How are you going, man? Good. Good to see you.
Good. Well, I've got a number of questions for you here, and so tell me about your beginnings in music. I understand you were a bass player first before you were a drummer.
Well, I wouldn't say a bass player. I used to jam on bass. This was in Trinidad when I was about 9, 10 years old. I was already messing with percussion, drums and percussion, because my brother had a group, which we used to rehearse in our house. But they used to do like a weekly gig downtown in Trinidad, and just for one song I'd play bass. But I wasn't a bass player. It's just at that age I was dabbling with everything, sort of. So just one song. But I was always drums, percussion, So
Okay.
So it's just being around the instruments, you play different things, So.
And how old were you when you got your first drum kit? Or
Well, about just around that time, 10, 11 for Christmas, I got a drum kit, my own drum kit. But even without that, they had drum kits around anyhow, from the band, my brother's band. But yeah, about 11 Christmas morning, I got up expecting a drum kit. I went out there, there's nothing there. I was very disappointed. So then, as usual, I was the youngest one in the family at the time, so they sent me to the shop to get whatever, milk, sugar, as they do, the youngest one. Well, why can't someone else go? No, you're the young, you go. Oops. So I had to go.
We're doing this interview live from Iraq. Yep.
Maybe outside, maybe. But anyhow, so I went to the shop and I came back and there was a drum kit. They hid it and then they paired. So, but I wouldn't play it. Everyone would say, all right, go and get on it, play, and I wouldn't play. So I had to wait until a few days later when everyone went to work, whatever, went out, then I'd get on the kit and play. So that was my first kit. But even then, I was actually started doing gigs. I was gigging with my brother because he was a Hammond organ player.
Okay.
And he played bass with his feet. And so we did a few gigs like TV shows and gigs, just organ and drums. So that was my first sort of playing. And before that also, I did a gig with another friend of mine, David Boosman, his brother Michael Boosman, and my brother Robert. They were in a band together. And this is before this house, and that's where I actually started, where they used to rehearse in this band called Rockefellers. And my sister got on the kit and played a drum beat, So I looked and said, oh, okay, well, I can do that. So I went and did it as well. I went and played a simple little beat on the drums, and that's where I actually started. Then we did a concert. We had one concert where we did, like the youngsters, we did a show at the Queen's Hall in Trinidad, and that was my first actual concert. That I remember.
And what type of material were you playing with your brother?
In those days, it would have been a lot of Booker T and the MGs sort of stuff.
Okay.
Green Onions, and also like Supremes, Motown stuff. That sort of soul, funk. In those days, it was soul. Call it soul.
Okay.
Yeah, but I remember that Hip Hugger, Booker T and the MGs, Green Onions, that sort of stuff. But I also used to play bluesette, which is a jazz waltz.
Okay.
And stuff like that, Latin songs. Then Take 5 was around, I was hearing that. And I remember a song called Watusi Drums. I don't know, which had a sort of drum solo on the tom, dum, 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 sort of jazz. I used to mess with that. So it's pretty varied, That's the thing in my playing. I started playing, I could play a lot of rhythms. I had no sort of technique at all. When I say technique, I mean rudiments, stuff like that. I'm completely self-taught, but I could play a bossa nova, funk, calypso, samba, jazz waltz. So I could actually do gigs. So from that time I was gigging. And then I used to also sit in with my brother's band later on, which was very good experience, which for me is very important because a lot of the musicians today, they seem to start the other way around. They have all this technique, they know all the rudiments, can get around the kit, but they can't play music, they can't play songs.
Sure, absolutely.
So I mean, you have to have a balance, you need a bit of both, but for me I think rhythm is a lot more important, having a solid foundation in rhythms.
Sure.
It takes you a lot further, I think.
and being able to play with other people and
yeah,
listen to other
listen.
people as opposed to You know, I mean, you know, I play a lot of blues jams, and sometimes, you know, you play with people, you're like, okay, all right.
Yeah, exactly. Are they hearing what you're hearing? No, that's very important because, again, a lot of music, they don't listen. They seem to just get up and play whatever they've been practicing.
Mm-hmm.
And they just, might be good, but it's nothing to do with what's going on with everyone else. So it's very important to listen and tune in to what's going on, you know, in my opinion. You know.
Absolutely. Do you remember the first, do you remember the first sessions you did?
Recording sessions?
Yes.
Yes. I mean, that's easy. It was an artist called Mandy Moore in England, and it was through my great friend and partner, Phil Chen, bass player,
Okay.
who lives in LA, who I'll be seeing in a couple of days. He was, when I left school, I was in London at this time, and I left school at 15
Okay.
and started playing straight away. So, but he was already an accomplished session player in London, doing a lot of sessions with various sort of artists. So every opportunity he got to get me on a session with him, he did. And that was one of the first ones, Mandy Moore. I remember doing it and then waiting for my check. You know, I don't remember what the music was. I mean, it was most probably a sort of pop rock record, but yeah, that was my first session.
What do you remember about the scene in London at the time when you moved there, and the bands that were there? And...
Well, it was great. I mean, as I say, I was still at school. I went to London when I was like 12, 13. So I only did 2 years school because I left at 15. But even when I was there, I didn't have a drum kit. So, but my brother later came over from Trinidad as well. And then he started jamming because he was old and he knew people. Then he was also in a band called Osibisa, an Afro rock band,
which
was very successful. So I used to go to their gigs, and then I got to know the musicians in the band, and they'd get me, like, they'd be playing in the pub on Sunday, so Saturday night I'd go along and just play a song or two. And then also I remember going to the Marquee, the famous Marquee, and seeing Led Zeppelin. Every Sunday. They were doing like every Sunday for 6-8 weeks they played there. And I went first few weeks. The first week was a good crowd, but by the third, fourth week you couldn't get in. It was packed. So I remember that. I remember doing the same thing there with King Crimson, seeing them play there at the Market, which was great. So and then also through my brother Osibis, I went to a lot of their gigs. So I got to see like bands like Black Sabbath and Hawkwind and Steppenwolf and also bands from America as well. So yeah, and then the session scene, I was through Phil Chen again, another musician called Mick Eves, who was a sax player. He used to play with John McLaughlin and the blues band way back. They all started getting me gigs, and there was this band called Gonzales in London, which was basically all the sort of top session players, rhythm and horn, brass players. So I used to gig with them and also started doing a lot of reggae sessions through Phil Chen again, because he's from Jamaica, and he we did lots of reggae sessions. I played Jimmy Cliff, and Dandy Livingstone, a lot of reggae artists. Some I didn't even know who I was playing with. You just did the session and that was it.
Sure.
And then so that was the scene. And then I had my own band. And then while all that was going on, a player, Rebop Kwakuba, who was a percussionist conga player, he used to be in Traffic.
Right, I was going to say,
right, yeah, he was Traffic. He through my brother, I also knew him. And again, he recommended me. He was in Sweden at the time with Johnny Nash, Bob Marley. They were working over there. Then Johnny Nash was forming a band. So Rebop recommended me for the band. So which I did. I joined the band. So it was Johnny Nash, but also with Bob Marley. Bob Marley was singing as well, and we were all working together. And at that time, I was still only 16. So from doing all the gigs and sessions in London from 15 to 16, then I went on tour with Johnny Nash, with Bob Marley as well, around England, and then America. We did a couple of months in America as well.
What year would you say that was?
What year?
Yeah.
Oh, that's got to be 72, 73, somewhere around there.
Okay.
Yeah, it's about 72, I think.
What was your first impressions of Bob Marlin?
Well, he was he wasn't the star he is now. He wasn't that known then.
Sure.
But he was very powerful and strong in what he wanted. He knew what he wanted. he had a vision of where he was going, and he was very, very strong. He was basically writing songs with Johnny Nash. They were writing together. You know, both of them would stay up all night with their acoustic guitars just writing. So, no, a very strong character. But as I say, I was 16, he was with Johnny, so you're working with them, but, you know, you don't take it all the time. I remember him saying to me at one sound check or something, you know, he's saying, Richie, man, call up the groove with some cymbals, man. Do a little thing on the cymbals. So I said, okay. You know, so no, he's a very strong character, you know. So
did you have any sense, or you obviously weren't thinking about it at the time, that he would turn into the reggae ambassador?
No. At the time, he didn't. I mean, I knew he'd be successful because, you know, he definitely had something.
Sure.
He used to freak. I mean, in England, he'd come on in the middle of Johnny's set and do a few numbers, and you know, the English audience were a lot of young girls, you know, because Johnny was very sweet with a pop sort of image hit. And then Bob would come on, and you could see them freaked out in the audience. They're standing, who is this guy? Because he'd come on like a rebel, you know, take his shirt off on stage and fall down on stage and pretend to be dead, lying down, you know, so they were freaked out.
That's great. Do you, Did you ever meet any of the drummers in the rock scene, like Michael Giles that you were seeing at the time? And
no.
Okay,
that's the thing.
Mitch Mitchell or
no, yeah. never met her. At that age, I was just checking it out, record and gigs. Also, which I think is most important schooling for me. As I say, I'm self-taught, but the jazz club, Ronnie Scott's in London.
Sure.
I used to, somehow I had free entry at 15, 16. If not, it was very cheap to get in through Musician Union, £1. But I had free entry through my dad, whatever. I knew the people. So that was my schooling. I used to be there every night or every week, seeing Elvin Jones, Art Blakey, Danny Richmond, Buddy Rich, all the greats. You know, Horace Silver, you know, Russ and Roland Cook, just musicians that aren't around today who are great. So that was my schooling. Okay. Just seeing those guys play every night. And some of them I'd meet. When I say meet, I'd go and talk to them. Some not, you know. I'm quite shy. I don't just go and talk to people. Like Elvin, I've seen him many times, but I never actually spoke to him. You know, every time I see him, I say, oh, no, I'll leave him alone. You know, Buddy Rich, I love seeing Buddy Rich. You know, and he is one of my big influences, Buddy Rich in the early days. Once I started getting into rudiments, Buddy Rich is a guy I was checking out, you know. So.
Now I was told that you said you were self-taught, and you had a Buddy Rich book of rudiments that you studied for a while.
Yeah.
How did that affect your playing?
Well, well, obviously it opened me up to a lot more rudiments, and also it helped me to start to read a bit. You know, although while at school in London I had a few lessons. Supposedly I wanted to do cello. Okay. So I could maybe do double bass as well, but we didn't have a cello teacher at the school, so I ended up having a few flute lessons. So that opened me up to just reading simple notes, rhythms. So then the book carried on. So yeah, it just opened me up. I mean, I'm still doing it now. I still use books just to... The thing is, I don't do enough sessions reading, so you can't get good unless you do it all the time. Sure. You don't become a sight reader. You know, I mean, in those days, I couldn't even count bars. I could play, I could record, but I could not count bars. So now, you know, I've developed, I can read a bit, I can write out what I play, you know. So all books help. I still use them today, you know. It gives you a bit of discipline, you know.
Do you know the George B. Stone?
Yeah.
Stick control?
Stick control, yeah. That's the one I use right now as well. Still, yeah. Just, I mean, you've done all those, but when you see it, they're written out, it gives you discipline, and you go over and over it. It's good. It's sticking, you know.
Now, is it through Phil that you got on the blow by blow sessions?
Yes, through Phil and also Max Middleton, the keyboard player. Okay. Because we were, again, you know, Max was around the session scene and gigging scene in London. So between both of them, they recommended me to come and do that as well. Yeah. Most of the stuff I've done is all word of mouth, recommendations by people, you know. Yeah. You know, people ask, oh, do you have an agent? Are you with this? No, never been with one. You know, so.
Call up Richard and get him on the gig.
Yeah.
He knows what he's doing. Now, what do you remember about working with George Martin?
Right. Well, what I remember was that it was so easy. What we did, because he didn't, you know, you hardly noticed him. Okay. When we were playing. Sure. You know, we just went in. We did that album within a week, Monday to Friday. We were done. The tracks were done. You know, each day we do one or two, and that was it. And it was very live, very spontaneous. And as I said, he hardly said anything that I remember. Not to me, not to anyone. We just played.
Sure.
You know, he might have come and changed the sound here and there, but that was it. It was after. That's where, when, you know, you heard how he put the album together and how he added the strings and did that. That's where you really realized how good he was on what he did.
Okay.
You know, so he was very in the background. You know, didn't. You know, after that, prior to that, I did some sessions with producer who were the opposite. You don't even get past the first few bars. Stop! Can you do this? Can you do that? Which I don't like.
Sure.
You know, sure, they know what they want and they're doing, but for me, I want to play. I want to play the song. I want to get a feel of it, get the vibe. Then we can start working out. But to start telling me what to do before I've even played, you know, it's not me. That's not how I play.
Sure.
You know, so I and a lot of the good sessions are like that. The producers, the engineers, they're in the background doing their job, and they let you get on with the music. You know, and they add their magic later.
Sure.
You know.
Now, I always say, what do you feel that I was going to say, you know, Blow by Blow had some of the most amazing drum sounds. And what do you feel? I asked one drummer once the role of an engineer in getting good drum sounds, and he said they have zero role at all. I hit the drum, you put a microphone in front of it. There's no science, there's no nothing, and that's it. Do you agree with that?
Well, to a point, yes. But every room, your drums are going to sound different.
Sure.
In one room, the drum might sound great. You know, in another room, not so good. And also, drums are tricky because if I hit a drum here and you over there, it sounds one way, but the mic is right on the drum.
Sure.
So you're getting a lot of other sound overtones. So it's very different. Even as a drummer, where you are, your ears are a lot further away from the kit. But for me, the natural sound is the best. You know, you have a good sound. Yeah, sometimes you get unwanted overtones ringing, which is not good.
Sure.
It messes up the sound. So if you have them tuned properly in a good room, they usually sound good. You know, you can put two mics, bass drum and overhead, which is how they used to record in the old days, and it sounds great. The more mics you put, the harder it gets, because then you have to balance it and you get in more overtones and stuff ringing. I'll give you an example. I was recording this is with Gonzalez in the studio, and we had some American engineers, right? These guys are good engineers. They work with Barry White, and they were over for this album because we had an American producer, Richard Jones and Gloria Jones, anyhow. But anyway, so two different engineers. I don't remember all the names. I won't call names anyhow. But one engineer came into the drum booth and he came in and he said, "Can you play the drums? I want to check it." I played them, and he started wanting to tune the drums. This is a producer. Right? No, he's the engineer actually, not the engineer. He started telling me how to tune the drums. So I thought, that's strange. He started saying, on the tom, I want you to tune one side tighter, then the other side slack. You know, which is cool. So I in the end, I said, listen, you tune the drums. I know how I like my drums, how I play them. You tune them.
Sure.
And he spent hours tuning, blah, 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 whatever. That was his way of doing it, which is cool. You have to work with different people. Took loads of time to do that. You go inside, the drum sounded okay. Next engineer, the next day, he came into the room. He said, "Can you just play for me?" I sat on the drum, I played around. He said, "Fine, thanks." Went in, and that was it. And his drum sound was fantastic. He just listened to what I had, and he went in and worked with it. And usually those are the good sounds, you know, some people, they come in, they have a drum sound, within 10 minutes they got a great drum sound. Some guys, you know, I won't call names, but I know people spend days just on a bass drum. I don't know what can take so long to get a bass drum sound.
Sure.
A bass drum is a bass drum.
Sure.
You know, but each to their own, you know. I'm not putting them down, but I like the more natural way of working, you know.
Now, what kind of engineer in that regard was Geoff Emerick?
He was good. He was good. I mean, again, I don't remember any problem. He just got the sound with what I had. He just worked with it. You know, Phil Brown, another guy, great guy from Island Records, Studios, yeah. You know, a lot of guys, they just get the sound you have and work with it. Yeah, of course, they might tell, "Oh, this is ringing a bit," and then you adjust something, but, you know.
Sure.
Generally, for me, that's what I prefer.
I got you. Now, you played on the, what was I going to say? Before I was going to say that, when I saw you I saw Steve and the band opened for Steely Dan.
Yeah.
In at the Shoreline Amphitheater.
Right.
Before they introduced you, and I was like, "Oh, him!" Yeah. I thought you had the greatest drum sound live of anyone I had ever heard.
Oh, wow,
yeah.
Great, thanks, man.
and then when he introduced you, he said, "Wait a second, I know that guy."
Yeah.
But do you feel the ability to get, I don't know, to sort of tune the kit, to get a good sounding kit? Do you feel that that's a lost art on some level?
Listen, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
I don't know how to tune drums.
Okay.
There's all sorts of ways and techniques. I'll be really honest with you. For me,
but you know how to mold it to get a good sound.
I know what I like, the sound I like, and
Sure.
I try to get it. But there's people who have got techniques, or you do this, you do that, which I follow sometimes. But I really don't. I just work from what I like. I'll tune them or get them until I like what I hear.
Sure.
So it works for me. If other people like it, great. And then that way you get your own sound.
Right.
Somehow when you go to technique or other people and the same kits, and which is something I did as well. I avoided listening to Steve Gadd. When everyone was raving about Steve Gadd.
Yeah.
No, I listened to him, I heard him, but
Sure.
I refused to follow his sound and his style of playing, because at that time I was sort of getting out of sessions in England because I felt a bit lost.
Okay.
After years of doing sessions, sound like Harvey Mason, play like Steve Gadd, do the 1 minute you're playing rock, then you're doing a reggae session, then you're doing a commercial, a jingle for 30 seconds. I sort of lost my identity and my sound, so I stopped, and then that's where I started trying to get my sound on my music. Because it's this music you play as well, Some sounds, some drum sounds are great, but I wouldn't use them. Because it's not my style. I wouldn't be. Some people have their snare so low, tuning and fat. It's great for just laying into it, heavy rock grooves. But for the way I play, it doesn't suit me.
Sure.
So it's horses for courses, courses for horses.
I got you. So how did you end up doing working on the Tommy soundtrack? And do you remember what songs you played? I don't think many people know that.
I don't remember what somebody said. Title, so Feel Me.
Feel Me?
Yeah, I think that, because there are a few versions on there, some with Keith Moon with different rhythm section. I remember that, and another one. Again, through Phil Chen. Well, no, it wasn't through Phil Chen, but once you do an album like Blow by Blow, people start calling you.
Sure.
Which was good and was also bad. Because they call you, they hear you playing on that, they call you, and they want you to play, but then they start telling you what to play and how to tune your drums. So I said, well, wait a minute. On Blow by Blow, no one did that to me. I played what I wanted and how I wanted.
Sure.
Now you calling me because of what you heard, but you're trying to tell me what to do now. So that's where the sort of conflict came.
I got you.
Where they want you to play, but then they start telling you, tune your drums like this and play like this, which some people are good at that, but for me, it wasn't for me. Because I'm just a natural player. I just want. So when people start telling you, I literally lost my confidence. I thought I couldn't play anymore. When they say, oh no, you got to play this, you got to do this, Phil. I thought, so it was scary, because I was sort of isolated myself from what was going on. And apart from Buddy Rich, Billy Cobham was another big influence. And same with him. After a while I realized, well, all right, he's a great influence, but I can't follow him. I have to stop following him. And that's what I did. I sort of cut everyone out. And obviously I hear them here and there, but I wouldn't listen to them. I started listening to more African drumming, Indian drumming, tabla, and incorporating that. And also drumming from my home, Trinidad and Tobago, which we have a lot of African drumming, Shango, Risha drumming, skin African. We also have something we call Huse, which they play on Tassa drums, which is Indian, Muslim drumming. So I started listening to that, and also salsa. I love salsa. It's a music, I just like the feel of it and the sound of it, so...
Now here's a question. As far as do you think feel, a good feel on the drums, you think that can be taught?
It can't be taught, but you can make people aware of it.
Okay.
You can't make someone feel something, but you can make them aware of what they have to look out for and listen to, how to approach it. Because again, a lot of people, they come from a mental sort of point of view, whereby, right, if I play this and write it out and all that, it'll be right, but you've got to put some emotion into it, feel it. And sometimes, it comes from your heart, it comes from your background as well. What sort of music you play. And for me, as I say, everyone could do boop, bap, doop, bap, doop. everyone can do that, but
Right.
each person, it will sound different.
Sure.
You know, and that's something that just comes from within you. But being aware and also opening up your vocabulary, listening to different music, I think gives you a good feel, you know. As opposed to, as I say, nowadays where they all got the technique. They do the rudiments, they can play a million miles an hour around the
Right.
kit, but they don't have a feel.
Right, it's
There's
very-
no sound, it's just very, like a drum machine. I mean, I don't want to play like a drum machine.
Sure.
I don't want to be perfect like a drum
Yeah.
machine. You know, if I play, I've done, well, in studio sometimes you play to a click, but a lot of stuff I do now, they don't want to click, they want your feel, they want you. And even when I do play to click, like I did a world tour with a Polish singer called Basha, and for that we had a click, I had a click, no one else, I had
Sure.
a click in my ear because we were running BVs and string parts. And but my approach is, the click is another musician. So I'm not trying to get my backbeat dead in with that click.
Sure.
I don't care if it's a little flam. Because for me, I want it to be me. I want that feel. If it's dead in with that click, you might as well use a machine. You know, really. You know, so I play with it and I move with it so you can still play behind it. You still just get a groove, you know. So it's like a guide for me,
Sure.
you know. So, and that's my approach, you know. Whether it's right or wrong, as I say, people want to be perfect. I'm human.
Yeah, well, that's, obviously, that's the important element, is
Yeah.
the human element. That's why
Exactly,
we listen to
you know.
music. Here's a question I have for you. So you, obviously, Blow by Blow was a seminal record. Now, after that, you played 2 tracks on Wired.
Yep.
Goodbye Pork Pie Hat, and I don't recall the other.
Something Head for Backstage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now,
a Wilbur Bascom tune, I think.
were those sessions done during the time of Blow by Blow, or did you do them after?
No, that was after. That was like a year, 2 years later. Because on that album, Narada, he was a producer on that one.
Okay.
So he played and wrote quite a bit of the material on that.
So how did you end up only getting to do 2 songs?
Well, as I said, because Narada he was songwriting on that,
Okay.
and sort of. I think George Martin was involved in that as well. I don't remember, but Narada was actually writing, and I remember him in the studio. He was writing songs,
Okay.
so he did the majority of it. Yeah.
And they called you up to do.
Yeah, they just called me to do a couple
Okay.
of tracks, and also because that album Blow by Blow, after that, Jeff asked me to go on the road to tour, but I said no at the time, because that's when I was I wanted to get out of sessions. I want to get out, and again, hindsight, I didn't know at the time that the album would be such a major
Sure.
album. So could be a mistake not doing the tour, but that's what happened. I didn't do the tour, and I just started trying to get into my own music.
And he got Bernard Purdy.
Yeah,
to the tour?
Bernard Purdy to
Okay.
do the tour, first tour. Yeah.
That must have been an honor, huh?
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, Bernard Purdy is great. I mean, I used to listen to him as well a lot, because he was the session man in those days.
Sure.
Phil and I, Chuck Rennie,
Yeah.
Bernard Purdy, Phil, myself. So, yeah, Bernard Purdy. Apparently, he went around saying after that he played all the tracks on Blow by Blow.
Interesting.
Yeah. Anyhow.
Oh, I got a few more for you before the sound gets too loud in here. How did you end up hooking up with Steve?
Okay, right. Well, again, I've known Steve from back in those days when I was doing sessions. We used to jam a lot at Island Studios, at his house. We used just to jam, and then at one point we actually rehearsed to do a few shows with a band, with Steve. I think Roscoe G on bass, different people. I can't remember, but it's around the time with Ghost, Tommy Master, around that time. But the gigs never came off. They were booked. It was like London, Rome, Paris, like just 3-4 major gigs around Europe, all booked. For whatever reason, my memory fails me, we didn't do the shows. That was way back then. And then years went by, and then again I'd go to his house and jam, never did anything. But it was only 7 years ago that I actually started touring with him,
Okay.
gigging, so don't know why. His album About Time, I played on that Timberlays that was done live, so I was playing Timberlays on that, and then after that I started touring. Well, I was on the road with Incognito, sort of acid jazz band from England. I was in that band. I joined that band originally in '92. Bluey asked me to do like 2 tours, Japan and Europe, in '92, and that was it. 17 years later, I was still in the band, still playing. So anyhow, I did a lot of touring, but then Steve was asking me to come on tour, So to start with, I would do Steve, then I'll go back with Incognito and Steve, but then that couldn't work anymore. The tours were conflicting, so then I ended up with being with Steve now. So.
Now, how obviously you had experience playing with an organ player and no bass player.
That's
right?
it. Yep. So it was like going back home. From being 12 and doing that with my brother, then now doing it with Steve. Yeah. And it was also after Incognito, because Incognito is like around a 12-piece band, horn section, 3 vocalists, and for me it was quite busy, musically. A lot of 16, the bass line, a lot of just good and funky. So, but then you leave that and you come in a 5-piece band, there's a lot of space. It's big, so the contrast is good, Give me more room to play. Although I don't fill up the space, but there's just more room.
Sure. I was going to say, what in your opinion keeps it fresh every night, and is there something that you aspire to? You sort of a musical goal you aspire to achieve nightly?
Every day. Well, I'm still trying to perfect my craft.
Okay.
It's great. You call me a legend. Lots of people call me a legend. People go, oh, great drummer. But for me, today I feel like a beginner. Okay. And I'm never really totally satisfied with my playing. I know you can play and people like your playing, and I appreciate that. But for me, I'm always still just trying to, and it's not a matter of perfection. It's a matter of just feeling good about what you do. Sometimes I'll hear like a drum solo and I think, oh yeah, it's great. But then for me, I'm cringing. Oh man, why did I play so long? That's way too long.
Sure.
That should have been at least a few minutes short.
Okay.
But as I say, you never stop. It just keeps me going. I love playing, and now to add to the drums, I'm doing that on steel pan, which is hard because now you got harmony and notes and chords to get into. So that's another thing. But that's my hobby,
Okay.
So but I'm really loving it. It's great, So no, I think it's with anything. Once you think you know it all, then that's it. Then you lose your inspiration, you lose everything. But for me, every night I go on, I feel like, I've got more to learn. I'm still trying to get it right, and once that stops, then I think I'll stop playing. But I'm still full of that, I'm still eager to learn and play, so, and I hear all these young guys play their chops. I'll never be able to play like that.
Sure.
With their feet around their feet. But I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in what I do.
Sure.
I also love listening to the great players. Like the other day, I saw a live gig with Roy Haynes on drums. He's 83, and he sounded fantastic.
Sure.
83 years old. I thought, wow, look at that. So that's what it's about: enjoying what you're doing and keep an open mind. So.
All right. And one final question: whose idea was it to bring "She's a Woman" on Blow by Blow? Was that George Martin's idea, or was that Jeff Beck?
I'll be honest, I couldn't say. Most probably Jeff Beck.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you did that with a reggae feel, which obviously you had experience.
Yeah, and that's with Phil as well, Jamaican. We always get our little Caribbean feel. I don't know, because at the time I think Jeff was working with Steve.
Okay.
Either playing on his stuff, Stevie Wonder, and then Stevie Wonder I think did something on Jeff's stuff. So they were sort of, vibing together. So I think maybe that's where it came from.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right. Well, Richard Bailey, it's been a true pleasure and honor to talk with you. Hopefully the background noise is
hopefully
not too bad.
Pots and pans.
And have a great tour, and we'll see you out on the road with Steve Winwood.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All
Pleasure
right,
meeting you, man.
Love you.